Imagine a man called the Lion. Imagine him also called Uncle by the Prophet Muhammad himself, peace be upon him. Now imagine that same man facing impossible odds, his body racked with pain, about to command not just an army, but the very forces of nature through the sheer power of faith. This is the story of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. His journey began in the earliest, most vulnerable days of Islam. Just a young man, 17 years old, when he heard the call to truth and answered, becoming one of the first 3 souls to embrace the new faith. Think of that, standing almost alone with the Prophet, peace be upon him, as a new dawn tried to break over Mecca. His connection was undeniable. The Prophet, peace be upon him, would greet him warmly, saying, "Here is my maternal uncle. Let any man show me his uncle." But faith, especially in those early days, demanded immense sacrifice. The path wasn't easy. Sa'd faced a trial that would break most hearts. His own mother, desperate to reclaim him for the old ways, waged an emotional war. She refused all food, all water, vowing to waste away unless he abandoned Islam. Imagine the torment, watching your mother weaken day by day, knowing you hold the key, yet refusing to turn it because your conviction burns brighter than your fear, brighter even than filial duty misunderstood. They brought him to her when she was near death, hoping the sight of her suffering would shatter his resolve. He looked upon the mother who bore him, her life fading, but his connection to the divine was absolute. He leaned close and spoke words that echoed with unwavering certainty. "Mother," he said, his voice heavy but firm, "by Allah, even if you possessed 100 souls and they left your body one by one, I would never abandon this religion. So, eat if you wish, or do not eat." Such was his faith, a bedrock unshaken by the fiercest emotional storms. This bedrock defined Sa'd. He became known for 2 unique honors, whispered with awe among the companions. He was the very first to loose an arrow in the defense of his faith, and the only one for whom the Prophet, peace be upon him, ever offered his own parents as ransom, shouting across the battlefield, "Shoot, Sa'd! May my father and mother be sacrificed for you." Can you fathom the depth of love and trust in those words? The Prophet, peace be upon him, also prayed for him specifically. Oh, Allah, make his aim true and answer his prayer. From that day, Sa'd's aim was legend, but so too was his connection to God. His prayers were known to be answered, like swift, decisive swords. Years passed. The small community of believers grew, but now faced an existential threat: the colossal Persian Empire, aiming to crush the nascent faith. Battles raged, Muslim blood was spilled, and despair began to creep in. In Medina, the Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab carried the weight of the world. He knew this next confrontation had to be decisive. But who? Who could shoulder this immense responsibility? After deep consultation, one name rose above the rest, spoken with conviction by Abdurrahman ibn Auf. "I have found him, the lion in his den, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas." And so, Sa'd, the Prophet's uncle, the man of answered prayers, was chosen. He was to lead 30,000 Muslims against a terrifying Persian host numbering over 100,000, armed with the deadliest weapons of the age, including fearsome war elephants. The fate of their world rested on his shoulders. But just as the armies prepared for the epic Battle of Qadisiyyah, Sa'd was struck down, not by an enemy arrow, but by debilitating illness. Painful boils erupted over his body, making it impossible to even sit, let alone ride into the fray. Imagine the agony, the frustration. The commander, grounded, unable to lead from the front in the most critical hour. Doubt could easily fester, but Sa'd was forged in faith. He refused to succumb. Believing that a strong believer never surrenders to circumstance, he set up command on a vantage point. Enduring his pain, leaning forward to ease the pressure, he directed the battle with a voice that belied his suffering. His spirit, his connection to his men and his Lord, remained unbroken. He guided every flank, every charge, his commands echoing with resolve, consulting constantly through letters with Umar back in Medina, drawing strength from that bond of leadership and shared responsibility. And against all odds, through courage and divine aid, the smaller Muslim force achieved a shattering victory. Qadisiyya was won, yet the greatest test of faith was still to come. 2 years later, the final Persian stand was in their magnificent capital, Al-Madain. But between Sa'd's army and the city roared the mighty Tigris River, swollen and furious in its flood season. It was an impassable barrier, a churning wall of water. To attempt a crossing seemed like madness, sheer suicide. Sa'd knew delay only strengthened the enemy. He looked at the impossible river, then looked to his faith. He made a decision that chills the spine and uplifts the soul. They would cross. He organized elite units, the Brigade of Horrors and the Silent Brigade, to brave the torrent first and secure the far bank. Then Sa'd turned to his army. He commanded them to put their trust entirely in God. Say, Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs, he instructed. And with those words on their lips, he spurred his own horse into the raging floodwaters. The entire army followed. Thousands of men, on horse and foot, plunged into the churning river. What happened next became legend. Witnesses described the army moving across the water as if it were solid earth. The chaos of the flood seemed calmed, the waves subdued. Men chatted calmly as they crossed, their fear replaced by an astonishing sense of peace and security, a profound certainty in Allah's protection. They reached the other side without losing a single soldier, an event so miraculous that even Salman al-Farsi, Sa'd's companion, exclaimed in wonder that the rivers had been subdued for them, just as the land had been. Al-Madain fell. An empire was humbled, not just by swords, but by trust that defied the elements. Sa'd lived a long life, marked by the same integrity and piety. He governed justly, amassed wealth through honest means, and gave generously. When later conflicts arose among Muslims, Sa'd stepped back, refusing to shed the blood of fellow believers, seeking only peace, held onto the Prophet's promise that he was destined for paradise. As he lay dying, well into his 80s, his son wept at his bedside. Sa'd, serene even in the face of death, asked him, "Why do you cry, my son? Truly, Allah will never punish me. I am from the people of paradise." His final wish was simple, yet profound. He asked to be shrouded in the old, worn cloak he had worn during his very first major battle decades earlier at Badr. That simple garment held the memory of his entire journey from young convert to legendary leader, a life lived in unwavering faith. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, the lion, the uncle, the archer, the commander whose prayer was answered, whose faith was stronger than empires, stronger even than the raging currents of a river. His life asks us, what rivers, what seemingly impossible obstacles stand in our way? And what could we achieve if we face them with just a fraction of his unyielding trust? What part of this incredible life touches your heart the most? What does Saad's story teach you about facing your own challenges? Share your reflections in the comments below.